Today we're on our way down to Milford Sound, and as you can see the weather's cleared up a bit compared to what we've had the last couple of days. It's just absolutely beautiful today. So the plan is to take a kind of leisurely drive to Milford Sound. It's a couple of hours drive from where we are, and as you can see the road out there is just utterly stunning. We're only 10 minutes away from where our B&B is, and already it's amazing. So we're probably going to have lots of stops along the way just to soak up the scenery. I've just taken a handheld snapshot of this scene, but actually, I might just sort of log this spot in my mind for maybe coming back on another morning, perhaps, because it's very close to where we're staying. But it's just beautiful here. This is the kind of scene which I sort of have in mind when I think of New Zealand. It's absolutely stunning. So anyway, fingers crossed this weather will last for this evening. You never know, in the South Island of New Zealand it can change very, very quickly, but with any luck it will hang around, and hopefully we'll have a good time this evening for sunset out at Milford Sound. So we've just stopped off at this lookout point here, and it's absolutely beautiful. I've just been walking around with the camera handheld. At this sort of time of day, I don't mind just, having the camera handheld, and I've been doing an awful lot of handheld photography on this trip, which has actually been quite good. I've been enjoying doing that for a change. I don't really feel the need, because it's so bright, I don't really think that we need to have the tripod out and be taking photos all the time with a tripod, so I think handheld is fine. And I've got a polarizing filter on the camera, and that's all I'm using, and I've just been taking a few handheld shots. Just my word, it's breathtaking here. So I've made it down here to Milford Sound. Hannah's just grabbing some food in the car. And we've actually got a good few hours before sunset, so we've got a lot of time to kill here. But having said that, I've sort of learnt my lesson a little bit from our experience in Paradise a couple of days ago. Because what I don't want to happen is for us to lose all of this view. So actually the forecast is for the weather to close in this evening before sunset, so there's every chance that Milford Sound is just going to disappear into a bunch of weather whilst we're waiting for sunset. So I'm going to head down now, and also it's a good chance to sort of scout the area out. I've got lots of time to try and find a composition which I like. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to head down to the shorefront, see if I can find a nice composition. I will take a shot now, even though the light is non-existent and fairly rubbish. If nothing else, it might work as a black and white image. And at least I've got something in the bag then, just in case we are unlucky with the weather and the weather closes in. So I'm just having a little bit of a wander around right now, trying to find compositions which work. I've got this pool of water here which might work quite well. I also quite like the grasses. My concern with the grasses is because there's a bit of a breeze, they're blowing about, which means as soon as I go for a long exposure they're just going to be appearing quite blurred. So I might not be able to use the grasses, or if I do I might have to start playing around by doing a sort of one shot where you do a faster exposure and then sticking the filters on and doing another shot and then blending the two together. I'd rather not do that if I don't have to, so I'm thinking maybe find a shot which doesn't have so much grass in the foreground and go with that. But yeah, I'm going to keep wandering around and see if there's anything else I can find. So I just found this spot here where we've got this dead tree in the water here. My concern is that I'm out standing on this little spit and the tide's coming in, so I might have to take this quickly, and I don't know whether I'll still be able to take this shot at sunset. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the camera out now and move all the gear up where it's hopefully safe from tide, and maybe rush out here and take a quick shot, trying not to drown in the fjord. But yeah, I'm going to see if I can rush this shot now, because I think it might work well, and it should work well as a black and white image as well. So I'll go and get the gear out and we'll give it a go. Oh, that was really frustrating. I just got everything set up. I got the camera into the right position, I have the composition perfect, I worked out my exposure time, put the 10-stop filter in, was just about to take the photo, and then a big boat went out and managed to it was washing a whole load of water over where I was set up, and also the tide is coming in now and it's actually covering over that spot where I was set up. So I think unfortunately I might have to rethink that composition slightly. So I've had to change my composition slightly because the spot where I was earlier is now underwater, but I've moved back up and I've taken a composition now of this other tree trunk which is slightly further inshore. I still preferred the other one, to be honest, but that's gone now, it's too late. But what I'm going to do is I've got the 10-stop filter on, I'm going to take a couple of images here. I've waited for that boat which came out, it went out, span around, then came back in again, probably just to annoy me. I'm only joking, of course. But I think that this image works as well, so I'm going to take an image. So settings wise for this image, I've just got the normal ISO 100, I've got f11. I've focused actually on the tree trunk because I want that to be quite sharp, and it is far enough from the camera, whereas I don't think I actually need to do a focus stack, which is good because I don't really like doing focus stacks. So I'm going to go ahead and take this image now. It's a 25-second long exposure with a 10-stop, and we'll see how this one works. So Hannah's come and joined me now, and I think what I'm going to do, because we've still got a couple of hours before sunset, and the tide's coming in, so we're probably just going to go. I've got a couple of shots in the bag now, so I think what we're going to do is go and just have a sit for a little while, maybe eat some food, wait until the light gets a little bit better, and then come back out. These trees where I am now, I think they'll be underwater by the time it's sunset, so we probably won't be able to use this site as a composition. In fact, we're sort of standing on a bit of an island and there's water coming in over the side of us, so I'm going to put the camera away now, get packed up, we'll go and have a bit of a rest for a little while, and then we'll come back out. I think this sort of area is going to be good for composition, so I'll come back to this area, but it's hard to tell exactly where the edge of the water is going to be, so I think wait until it's closer to the time before actually finalising a composition for sunset. So we've managed to have a little bit of a break, and we went back and sat in the car for an hour or so and managed to have our picnic supper. And whilst we were doing that, the skies have cleared a little bit, so actually I was really worried about the weather closing in. It might do still, obviously, but at the moment it's looking quite promising. So we've come back out again. The tide has moved in quite a bit further than it was earlier on when I took those first shots. So unfortunately, using those tree trunks which I found earlier isn't really going to work for composition this time, because I'd have to stand in the sea. So instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to have another little wander around with the camera, just carrying the camera on its own without the tripod, just walk about, see if I can find something which is going to work as a composition, because I've got about half an hour or so before the light should become really good. And Hannah at the moment has got her telephoto lens on and is taking a few shots as well. So I've had a little bit of a walk around, and I think I found a couple of compositions which I like. There's one tree. I've looked at a few trees and trying to find a tree trunk which will work nicely, and I think I found one which I like. So I'm going to go for that one, and then I also think I might take a second shot which will be closer to the water's edge and not have any kind of distractions in the foreground at all. So I think that's my plan. I'm going to do those two shots. Hannah's got the telephoto lens on and is doing a couple of panoramics as well. So I look forward to seeing how those turn out too. So this is the first of my compositions with this old tree trunk here in the foreground. And for this shot I've just got the 6-stop filter on, which is giving me a nice bit of a long exposure, so it's going to blur that water out quite well. We're starting to get some really nice light now, so I think we're just coming into the good time. So yeah, I think this is working well. I'm going to take a couple of shots here. I am sort of doing a couple of manual brackets with the 6-stop exposure. This is giving me the 6-stop filter. This is giving me an exposure of about 20 seconds. But I'm sort of varying it a little bit. I'm taking a couple of shots a little bit shorter than that, and a couple of shots a little bit longer than that, just so I've got a little bit of flexibility when it comes to post-processing. But yeah, this is absolutely beautiful, and I think this composition is working really quite well. What you might have noticed is I'm being completely pestered by sandflies, so if I keep swatting things at my face, New Zealand's got a lot of sandflies down here, so if you ever come, just beware, they do bite. So I've got to say, actually, right now, I think this is the first point in this trip where I've been here doing photography and I've just been able to just enjoy it. I've had a few stresses so far in this trip of the weather not working out and just being a little bit stressed about not getting those shots which I was kind of had in my mind and was expecting to get when I came out here to New Zealand. And right now, like, the light's beautiful. The composition is beautiful, the landscape is just unbelievable, and I'm not feeling rushed. I got down here in good time. Everything is just feeling like it's falling into place and it's working nicely, apart from this tide which keeps coming in. And I can just enjoy it. And a couple of days ago when I had that sort of instant up in paradise where, you know, we missed the light and the weather came in and just destroyed all of the view, that was probably one of the lowest points that I've had, to be honest, in landscape photography. As I was walking back to the car that evening, I just felt so dejected at missing that shot and missing out on those sandflies, missing out on being able to photograph those amazing mountains. And this is kind of just making up for that now. I'm just here, I'm relaxed, and I can take my time and just enjoy this. And this is Milford Sound. This is one of the most photogenic places in the world. And I'm not stressed, I'm not running around. I've got some nice shots in the bag, and yeah, this is what we do landscape photography for. So I actually, somewhat by accident, just found this composition here. The light had dropped a little bit too low for me to be using a 30-second exposure, and on my camera, to go over 30 seconds, you have to use the cable release, which I'd left back with Hannah, who's about 100 yards over in that direction. So I went back to go and get my cable release, and as I was heading back out, I came across this pool of water which is sat here nice and still with these reeds on the edge, and actually I think this makes an amazing composition. So as the last of the light's fading, I think this is going to be the last shot which I take. And yeah, Milford Sound definitely hasn't disappointed this evening. Right, so I think it's probably time for us to head back. We've got quite a long drive ahead of us of a couple of hours to get back to the B&B. How did you get on in the end?
I don't think we could have wished for anything more perfect, basically.
We really lucked out. I think this makes up for the bad weather a couple of nights ago, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, the weather here is so variable. We've found that the clouds move in really quickly, and for us, they disappeared really quickly. It was, absolutely awesome. I hope I get some decent shots out of that. I hope that the panoramic stitches together okay. But it was just such a fantastic experience.
It's just amazing. And this place is just beautiful. So we're going to head off now. But if you did enjoy this video, then please feel free to give it a thumbs up. Hit subscribe if you haven't already subscribed to our channel. We've got a few more videos coming up from New Zealand, so we'll see you next time.